So I want to start off by saying welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're a fanatic of everything entertainment, then this is the channel for you. But with that being said, we're going to be talking about 1962's King Kong versus Godzilla. So let's get into it. So the way this is going to work, I usually start with my positives and then work my way up to the negatives, but today I'm going to start with the negatives and work my way up to the positives because I want to end things on a positive note. I'll be honest, I don't think I have the same opinion as everyone else with this film, so with that being said, let's get into the negatives with this film. With this film being titled King Kong vs. Godzilla, you would think that we would see a lot more of both kaiju monsters, but no. With Godzilla, it takes 25 minutes for him to even show up, and then with King Kong, it takes 35 minutes, so the pacing in here is a lot worse than that of Godzilla Raids Again. Like I said, the pacing is terrible, mainly because we're surrounded by characters I could really care less for. Honestly, don't care for any of the characters in here. Every second we spend with them honestly feels wasted because I get no enjoyment out of any of them. Also, we get our first case of actual American actors in one of these films, outside of an English dub or whatever. The characters on the Seahawk and their southern accents is a bit stereotypical, and is not saying it's a bit offensive, but as someone that's grew up basically on a farm for half of his life, this was just way too over the top for me, man. Also, these actors cannot act to save their lives. I don't know if I was being punny or not because they do die, but that's besides the point. And speaking of characters, this film manages to have a worse character than Kobayashi in Godzilla Raids Again in the form of Tako, the promoter. His performance exceeds way too over the top. Way too over the top is right here. His performance is up here, and it's just, every time he shows up on screen, I just want to gouge my eyes out. That was a bit much. I don't like his character because he wants to use Kong as the face of his company because ratings are going down. That's how we get our titans together? That's pathetic. The story doesn't really justify these two titans duking it out. This ain't it, okay? And last but not least, I understand that RKO wanted Toho to change Kong's design, but what were they thinking? This is horrendous. This just ain't it. It looks absolutely horrible, and why in the hell did they extend Kong's arms? It looks goofy. It looks worse than that of Freddy Krueger stretching his arm out in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. It just looks really stupid and goofy in the worst way. Now on to the mix section with this film. While I prefer Godzilla's suit compared to Kong's, once again, I'm still mixed on it because it doesn't hold a candle to the original, and even the original doesn't look entirely the best outside of nighttime scenes. But it's definitely better than that of the design in Godzilla Raids Again. It's not entirely a bad design, but it's nothing special either. The music is something that I'm also mixed on because while it gets the job done, every piece of score suits the scene that it's in. I think they could have used the main theme a bit more in this film. And last but not least, I'm mixed on the humor in here because it is a bit hit or miss, but it does fit with the campiness of this film. But with that being said, let's move on to the positives with this film. The miniatures in here, once again, look great. I'm a fan of miniatures being used because they're very nostalgic to me, and I think they improve more with this film than they did of that of Godzilla Raids Again, and even that film improved quite a bit over the original Godzilla. So the miniatures in here, they look great. And speaking of the miniatures, the destruction faced upon them is terrific. It's always a blast seeing buildings fall to pieces with such ease because of these titans. I'm a fan of it. Like I've said countless times before, if this was a modern day film, it would be entirely CGI. I'll speak about the ending here in a minute, but the way that Godzilla and Kong emote themselves through body language during the ending is just something that it's campiness done right, okay? Like I've said, I have no problem with campiness or cheese, especially when it's done right, and they do it right in this film because every time they emote through body language, it's just hilarious, and I'm a fan of it. The ending in here is what we came to see and is the main reason why I went from giving this film a 2 out of 5 to a 2.5 out of 5 because the ending to this scene, it took quite a long time to get to it. The pacing is horrible, but the ending in here sort of made it worth it because it was just another one of those cases with camp done right, with cheese done right, and I loved the ending to this, regardless if I wanted Godzilla to win or not. It was just so goofy. I've seen clips of this already through other people's reviews, and I couldn't wait to see it for myself. And it sort of paid off. It was like The Room if like Tommy Wiseau made a creature feature or a kaiju film. Like, I loved it. Like, if you know what you're getting yourself into, you're gonna have a blast with this scene. But with that being said, I'm gonna be giving King Kong versus Godzilla an overall grade of a 54%. I know a lot of people are probably going to get mad at that because I've seen a lot of people put this high on their list. Some people, low on their list, but a majority of people really like this film. And I think it has a decent score on Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't think that this film is worthy of having both Titans in it. This should feel more monumental than it does. Maybe it felt that way in 1962, but in 2024, that is not the case. But with that being said, I just want to say thank you as always for everything that you do, and I hope to see you in the next video.